certainly appreciate everyone coming out here today. First off, just from a university standpoint, I'd like to thank Chancellor Sartorelli, the Board of Trustees, Athletic Director Jimmy Bass, and the search committee for allowing me to have this great opportunity. It's something I've dreamed about for a long time. I've been in baseball a long time, as far as Little League all the way up to now. And you never know kind of what your time frame is as far as getting opportunities, and everybody's different. But over the last 24 years as assistant, and a lot of times you don't see assistants last that long, but I've had a great opportunity over the last 24 years to keep grinding it out, and found a place here for the last 18 that is what I've called home, and it's special to me. This university's special. The community's special, and our program, it has really leaps and bounds over the last 15 to 20 years, and I've been fortunate enough to be a part of that, thankful for it. I look back right now, and you think about 63 baseball seasons at this university. 1957 was when it was started, first college baseball season. 3 coaches, Coach Brooks, Coach Guthrie, Coach Scaff. It's quite an honor to be able to follow those 3 guys. To be the 4th head coach of this university is humbling. I'm truly honored. I'm extremely excited to lead these guys, and I'm excited. It's unbelievable for my family. My daughter's grown up in this area. She's pretty much been raised in Wilmington. My parents live about an hour and a half north of here in Goldsboro, so just a great place and really excited. I told my wife I'll probably get about 15 minutes to talk about myself and us a little bit, and then from this moment on, it's about the program after that, our players. But you always kind of look back at people that kind of mentored you, people that gave you opportunities, people that stood out, and I wanted to take just a little bit of time to kind of reach back and tell you about a little bit about myself and how I got here. There's always coaches, there's people that mean a lot to you. And my very first coach that really stood out to me was back in middle school. We called it junior high back then, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. But my coach, Jimmy Montague, he was our head baseball coach. He was our head basketball coach, and he was our assistant football coach. But one thing that stood out with me with Coach Montague was my 9th grade basketball season. We were not known for basketball at Grantham Junior High, but we had 10 to 11 guys that were good players but not great players. And we learned that year what it was like, if you know your role, to be a team, to have teamwork. And he's always been a big fan of mine and a supporter, and I just look back, and that's where one of my values of being a team and understanding what your role is really stood out to me. So I thank Coach Montague for that opportunity and the things that he's passed along. I grew up a little bit more and got to go to Southern Wayne High School right around the road in Dudley. You don't realize at that time how awesome it is to get to play varsity baseball as a sophomore. There weren't many that got to do that back in the day. My head coach at that time was Doyle Whitfield. He's actually here today. But he taught me a lot of values. The biggest things I remember from Coach Whitfield was being disciplined and fundamentals. All right? There was a time early as a sophomore where I could run back in the days pretty good and like to steal bases. And I remember stealing second base, standing up, and it was close, but I didn't have to slide and get my pants dirty. And here comes Coach Whitfield running across the field yelling at me, telling me, if you ever do that again, you'll never play for Southern Wayne again. I always slid from that moment on. But he taught me a lot. We were fortunate enough my junior year to win the state 4A championship. 11 guys off that team played college baseball, 4 played professionally. 1 made it to the big leagues. The guy that made it to the big leagues was our backup sophomore shortstop. And he was kind of our base runner on that team. And it's amazing like how that team developed, but that's where really, from a discipline standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, I learned a lesson right there, and I always would thank Coach Whitfield, and he, again, has been one of my biggest supporters. I got recruited several schools. Back then, recruiting is not like it is today in sports. But my junior year, I went to a college baseball camp at Clemson, and I met Cal Kuntz. Some of you might not know Cal Kuntz, but he's passed away. But he was the coach that recruited me to Campbell University. And really, I ended up signing to go to Campbell in June of my senior year. You don't see that happen a lot more in recruiting. Just a couple weeks ago, I'm out watching 8th, 9th, 10th graders. And I signed as a senior back in June, about a month before I actually went to school. But Coach Kuntz was a real stoic, quiet guy that would sit back and evaluate you. Didn't say a lot, but you knew when he taught it meant something. And I always learned that, take a step back, look at things, evaluate people before you make a decision. I always thank Coach Kuntz for that. He actually left my freshman year to take a pro job. Mike Caldwell became my head coach at Campbell for basically the 4 years I was there. If you know pro baseball, know the Milwaukee Brewers. His nickname was Mr. Warmth, Yankee Killer, because he did a job on the Yankees when he played with the Brewers. He was a left-handed pitcher. But really enjoyed my 4 years there. Coach Caldwell taught me a lot. Biggest thing was tell it like it is, be truthful. All right, and I'll always thank for him. He was helped me, got my opportunity in professional baseball. I actually signed with the Brewers out of Campbell, and I think a lot, and I'm very thankful for Coach Caldwell and all that he's done. Got to play 5.5 years of pro baseball. Met a lot of good and worked with a lot of good managers. Probably the one that meant the most to me was Terry Francona. Spent part of 2 seasons in AA in Birmingham with Tito, I call him. But the thing I take from him is basically have fun, be a player's coach, and be a professional at all the things that you do. And those are some qualities that at the time I probably didn't realize that would kind of center who I am. But you look back 25, 20 years later, those individuals meant a lot to me, and I'm very thankful for them. Like I mentioned, I spent about 5 years in pro ball. And then I, got released. And when you get cut the first time in your life from something, no matter at what age it is, it hits you in a hard way. You don't really know how to act. I'm in my mid-20s and got released, and I knew I wanted to stay in baseball. I just didn't really know exactly if it was in the professional side or the collegiate side. The opportunity to possibly coach came up at my alma mater at Campbell. Coach Chip Smith was hired as the new head coach, and I reached out to him and said, I'm looking to get into college coaching, don't have any experience, you have any interest? And a few weeks later, he reached out to me and hired me as an assistant coach. A lot of people don't get to be a full-time assistant their first opportunity, and I'm really thankful for the opportunity he gave me. We had a lot of humbling at Campbell during those 6 years. We had a couple good seasons, but I learned a lot, and sometimes when you get beat, you learn a lot. And, again, we had a couple good seasons, but I got my feet wet as a college coach, learned the path of recruiting and evaluating college players and high school players, and I'm really thankful for Chip Smith giving me that opportunity. 18 years ago, Coach Scaff lost a pitching coach. One moved on. Me and Patricia had always talked about if you wanted to live somewhere, where's the 2 places you'd like to go to? And one was Wilmington and one was Charleston. So when that opportunity for a spot opened up, I called Coach Scaff and I said, look, I know you lost a pitching coach. I work with hitters. I like to run the offense. If you can figure out, or we can figure out who can coach the pitching, I'd love to come down there and work with you guys. He called me back a few days later, came down for the interview, and 18 years later, I think we've been a pretty good team. Very thankful for what Coach Scaff has given me. He gave me an opportunity to come in here, and both coaches that I worked for in college, 2 of the biggest things they've done for me is let me be me and let me run with a lot of things and trusted me, and it's meant a lot. Coach Scaff, when I got here, and a lot of you that have been in this community kind of know Coach Scaff's ways and stuff like that, but I told him, I wanted to come here and coach third base and run the offense. And a couple weeks, I got here into the fall, we've had our first scrimmage. I'm getting ready to walk out to third base, and Coach Scaff sprints out there to third base ready to coach it. I didn't say anything that day. I just kind of let him go because, when you're used to doing things, it's hard to break habits and what you're used to. Later that evening or the next day, I said, Coach, when we talked, he talked about letting me coach third and coach the offense. And he goes, did I go out there? And I said, yeah. And from that moment on, we never had that issue, and I thank you for him being trustworthy. Fast forward 18 years this past season when he's kind of going out in his retirement. He's let me coach third and do a lot of things for 18 years, and I'd always thought, how cool would it be to let him go back to third base at the back end of the season. Little did I know our team would not play very well for the most part of last season. About 3 weeks to go into season. A lot of you that follow our team know that we had our backs against the wall. Sometimes in baseball, you're superstitious. I said, Coach, we're not doing too well, and I have zero problem. Let's changing up some karma. Why don't you going out to third and see if we can't get some things turned around. Lucky enough for us, whether that was it or not, I don't know, but it allowed me to kind of let him get back to what he used to do. I think he really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being in the dugout, being around the players, because there's two ways of doing things. You can be out on the field, but you can be there kind of having the pulse of the team. And I think, that was a good inning for both of us in a way. And the way we finished up and the way we played was awesome. But I really thank Coach Scaff. He's been super, his whole family, just the abilities that he's allowed me to grow as a coach and a person. I'm forever thankful. That's kind of my baseball thank yous. I do have a family, and most of them are here today. And I had two very supportive parents, Mark and Joyce Hood, that have always been there for me, that have always supported me, that have always been stern. My dad, he's not one of the travel ball coaches that you see now. The biggest thing that he always said to me was pretty much hit it hard and carry yourself the right way. Didn't say much after that. Now, my mom, she was a little more crazy. She's into sports. I think she got it from her father, who was a basketball and golf coach in high school out in Nebraska and Kansas for a long time. But she's probably watches more sports than anybody in our family when it's all said and done. But they have always been there, very supportive, very thankful for everything they've done. I have a younger sister that has always been there. Growing up and probably dealing with me is probably not the easiest thing in the world. A lot of my friends, a lot of our staff could probably tell you that. But she's always been supportive. Her husband, two sons. I can't think enough of Melinda, Jeff, Graham, and Josh. My immediate family here in town, my wife Patricia, there's a reason why I've been able to be an assistant coach for 24 years. She's been pretty special. She's been a big part. We share a lot of things. We're kind of opposites at times, which is good, but this December we'll be married for 25 years. We've been trustworthy, loyal, and very special, and she's always been there and a big part of who I am. She's been my best friend, and I'm very thankful for everything. My daughter, Mackenzie, like I said, she's grew up in this area pretty much. She was born when we were at Campbell, spent about 6 months there, and she spent the rest of her 18 years here in Wilmington. Luckily for us, she's been an unbelievable daughter. She's smart. She's athletic. I call her, or she tells me she's a D1 athlete. She's getting ready to head to South Carolina in about 2 weeks to move in. She got a dance scholarship in ballet. She'll be studying ballet and psychology at South Carolina. Unbelievably, extremely proud of her. One of the strongest, most courageous individuals I've ever seen, and love her very much. Extremely blessed to have a lot of friends and made a lot of friends here in the Wilmington community. Some former teammates from Campbell. I appreciate coming here, Scott. The supporters, the alums, been able to, just meet so many people that have meant a lot to me. I have a ton of friends in the professional side. Scouts, some of the best friends I've got are scouting side. I'm extremely excited about our staff that we have. Looking forward to working with them. Don't have a lot of changes. Coach Myers will be back as our pitching coach. Chris Moore will be back in a full-time role, working with me in the offense and recruiting. Kelly Secrease, one of our former players who was our student assistant last year, will be bumped up into our third assistant role, which in baseball terms it's a volunteer spot, but guys that know baseball, he works full-time. We got to figure out a way to get that spot paid in full down the road. I'm sure a lot of you that follow baseball have heard some of the stuff going around the country, but our sport deserves that opportunity. Josh Stott will continue to be our director of operations. It'll be his 7th year here, and he's an alum of the university. And Nick Fight, one of our former players, will be coming back. He got released this past spring, and he'll be our student assistant, working with our catchers and hitters and being seeing if this is what he wants to do. He's at the age, he's still searching. He's got a lot of energy. He's got about one more year of school to graduate. So anytime we can help one of our former players to come back in here, I'm very excited to get him back in here and be our student assistant. As far as this year's team, I couldn't be put in a better situation. We've got 60 out of our 63 starts last year on the mound is back. 8 of our 9 position player starters are back. Opportunity right there on paper to really have another solid season. Our program is one of the best programs in the country, and I'll say that to anybody. But on paper doesn't mean anything. You got to go out and do it on the field. And I'm excited to coach those guys. I'm excited to lead them. I'm excited to get them better. One of the biggest things that happened this year is we were able to keep some guys. I mean, if you follow our program, we have a lot of guys drafted their junior year and have to make decisions if they want to stay in college or start their professional career. This past season, we had 2 guys turn down professional baseball to say they're going to come back, Cole Weiss and Zarian Sharp. 2 big guys, big keys to the pitching side and position player side. I felt like over the last 3 or 4 years we've been good, but we've been young, which is fun sometimes, but it also, the youthfulness can get you in trouble at a lot of times. We've got 3 fifth-year seniors back on our team, Kep Brown, Braden Gorham, and Blake Deathridge. I'm looking for those guys for experience. We'll end up with about 8 seniors, and we hadn't have eight seniors in the last 4 or 5 years because a lot of them just never get to their senior year because of the situation with professional baseball. But very excited. We've got a great group of young guys, freshmen and transfers that will be coming into our program. 13 of them were here in summer school and left last week to go home for a couple weeks. And I think if you ask the older guys that were here all summer, they'll tell you this is a different group. It's pretty special. So I saw them work a little bit in the weight room and just kind of, did what I could over the summer around recruiting and some of the new things that I have as being the head coach. And I'm just really excited to see how they kind of get out on the field and get after it. Other than that, again, I'm extremely excited, very thankful for everyone that showed up today, and can't wait to get after it and continue the upward trend and path for Seahawk baseball. I think we're a national program, and I expect us to continue to push down and knock down some barriers and even take it higher. And I enjoy watching kids have success. I enjoy seeing the dog piles and things like that. We expect to win here. We expect to get after it every day. We're still going to roll our sleeves up and work. I'll be honest, the 2 places I've been at, Campbell and Wilmington, and Wilmington of late, but we haven't been given a lot from a baseball program standpoint. especially when I started at Campbell and when I first got here. It has got a lot better here, and I'm very thankful, but we've had to work, we've had to grind at both places, and that's part of who I am. I'm going to roll my sleeves up and get after it, and when the day's in, we'll be satisfied because we know we can look in the mirror and we've given it our best shot. But I'm excited, can't express how super energized I am to coach this team, to work for this university, and to be a part of this community and help us continue to get after it.
Thank you, Coach. Now we do have some questions and answers from the media here. We have a microphone. If you just pass it around, just identify yourself. We'll go from there.
John Smith, WECT. Randy, you've been here. This is going into your 19th season. They always say it's so difficult to replace a legend. How do you replace or move into this position and make it yours?
I don't think you replace anybody. I think you just be who you are. I'm excited. Our staff, we've done a lot over the last 18 years. We've, me and Coach Scaff have been together for these 18 years, but we had 7 pitching coaches and probably about 10 volunteer coaches. So we've been able to adapt. We've been able to continue to do things a certain way, and our kind of blueprint of how we do things is not going to change a whole lot. Yeah, there's going to be some different faces. You won't have Coach Scaff spitting in a bottle all the time and doing some things, but it's an honor. But we feel like we can continue this upward trend in Seahawk baseball, and I'm excited, and I know I've been a big part of it, and I'm not going to change.
How do you build upon the brand that you guys have right now and the upward trajectory that you guys have been moving on?
I think there's a lot of things. As a baseball coach, you look at, how are you scholarship-wise, and we're pretty good. We can get better, and everybody here knows that. We can get a little bit better there. Biggest thing for me is we've got to continue to go out and recruit quality kids that are going to work hard in the classroom, kids that are talented on the baseball field, and we've got to continue to find ways to raise money to improve our facilities. When it's all said and done, it's a facilities race at the high levels of college baseball. The more that we can work and improve Brooks Field, improve the atmosphere there to make it a better fan experience, to make it a better home field advantage, I think that's where you improve at.
Coach Tanner Barth, WWAY. A question for you. You've been here for so many years, but what do you see now taking over the head coaching duties being your biggest challenge possibly here as you take the next step in this program?
Honestly, what I just mentioned to John there is just continue to go out there. I'm going to coach baseball, but also have a bigger role in meeting people and raising funds and trying to improve the facilities. Brooks Field is a great place, and it's beautiful, but it's also old. And the way you recruit right now is you got to wow kids. You got to give them a little bit of wow factor. We have a great facility. We have one of the best development areas in college baseball. I'm thankful for the Johnsons for providing our indoor facility that we've been able to get into the last year. You add that with the turf field, a few other places. There's not any place in college baseball that has a development area that we have. We just want to make the game day experience more home friendly, exciting. Players feed off of that. Fans will feed off of that, and that's how recruits come to your program.
Joey Chandler, Wilmington Star News, spoke with one of your former players earlier today. He brought up how back in 2003, the kids wanted white cleats. Your promise was you make the NCAA regional, we'll get you white cleats. So my question is, what color are you getting once you guys make it to the Super Regional?
Probably teal. We haven't gone there yet. We've been taught, a lot of players have said, let's go with an all-teal uniform. And I'm like, ooh, that's going to be tough. One, because Adidas might have trouble doing that, but we'll do something special, I guarantee you. And, you kind of hang that carrot out there sometimes, and it was amazing. Those guys, they became the first team that made it to an NCAA regional, and at the time we were working with Mizuno, and we made a couple quick calls. Our administration helped me out, and they shipped 40 pairs of white Mizuno cleats to Baton Rouge, and you don't believe the excitement that those guys had when we went out to practice day that day, and we were just handing out white cleats to them at LSU's Alex Box Stadium. And I think that's exciting for them, and we'll continue to do things we can within our means to reward our guys.
After so many years, what do? You mentioned being you. How do you put the Randy Hood stamp on this program?
I think just come to work every day with a passion. Come to work every day knowing that it's not about me. It's about UNCW. It's about our players, our student athletes, and just work hard. I mean, again, I'm not some mad scientist. I'm not out there blowing up social media and promoting myself. I just like to get to work. I like to be around our guys. I like to get out and do things the right way. You'll hear me say 1,000 times, do the little things, And the little things to me is what you do on and off the field. If you can take care of those, you'll have big success. And that's just what I preach. That's who I am. And I think the guys that have been here, the guys that I've been able to influence can kind of probably tell you that.
Yeah, last thing, anything you learned playing with Michael Jordan for a year at the Barons?
Compete. There's no better competitor. I do get a lot of Michael Jordan questions, and I spent the whole summer on that Birmingham Barons team, and could probably write a book when it's all said and done, but I'm not worried about that right now. But just the man at that moment was the greatest athlete in all of sports, and I got to spend the summer watching him go about his business, and all he wanted to do was win. Whether it was dominoes, whether it was playing cards on the bus, whether it's playing basketball on our off days, whether it's trying to figure out how to be a better baseball player. And you just saw that in him. You saw the greatness, and it was a really eye-lifting, uplifting type 6 months to really just kind of take a back seat, even though I was in the front seat a lot of times, but take a back seat and just see how that all played in. And then I'm blessed to be a part of that. At the time, I was probably mad at the time because I didn't get as many at-bats that summer as probably I wanted, but when I look back, that was my journey. That was what was supposed to happen. So it's pretty neat. And again, a lot of good stories that I'm sitting back at late evenings. It's pretty good stuff.
Very good. Good to go. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach Hood.
Thank you.